the truth teller is known for telling the truth. I think that's how the nickname actually kind of manifested itself. But another loss in this one to a rival in the Clemson Tigers at home at Doak. Let's say hello to Rick as we talk about that 29-13 L. And Rick, it's not getting any better. They did make a quarterback change due to injury. They were hoping for more, and then unfortunately they just didn't get it, did they?
No, they didn't. And, I think the score doesn't tell the story if you didn't watch the game. Clemson is a much better football team in really every phase. Mm-hmm. There was a little bit of life, though, thrown into Florida State with Brock Glenn getting an opportunity. He actually played much better football than I thought he would. They don't help him out. They had 5 huge drops. If you go back to some earlier conversations that we had, I said I had absolutely no faith in these fifth-year seniors, particularly Tier and Williamson, and in consecutive plays, they drop balls that you have to catch. I mean, Williamson looked like a Southerner on ice skates for the first time, and he just lost his feet, and it would have been a touchdown. And, he's a fifth-year guy. He shouldn't be on the football field. And that's what Florida State is dealing with right now. You got to get these guys off the field. You got to get Morlock off the field. You got to get Portier and Williamson off the field. You got to get these useless players out of there and play some young guys. And they did that with the tight ends, and both tight ends made big plays on Saturday for Florida State. So, what's the difference between 2-10, 3-9, or 4-8? Nothing. It's awful. Play the kids, get them ready, see what you have, so you can breathe a little bit of life into the program for 2025.
So, Rick, I'm not saying that Kromenuk won't eventually be the starter. All I'm saying is Brock Glenn did not play that poorly in that game, number one. Number two, I think he showed a lot of what you and I saw on that flex field in preseason. He's got a live arm, man. He can make every throw.
Absolutely. Yeah, and, as I said, he was better than I ever thought he would be. I'm going to give him credit. I don't know if he's the answer. Certainly we'll find out here with much more football ahead of him, but there's no help. I mean, the offensive line is really poor. Florida State's averaging 58 yards a game rushing, okay? It is next to Kent State. It is dead last in America. There are 74 Division I football players right now individually who have more rushing yards than Florida State has as a team. And if Florida State's Brock Glenn didn't pick up 10 yards on the last play on just basically a quarterback keeper, they would be dead last behind Kent State as the worst rushing team in college football. So when you look at Brock Glenn, he's got receivers that drop the ball. He's got no offensive line, and he's got no rushing attack. So he's basically a one-man operation out there trying to make plays. And it's difficult to figure out, what would he be like with a decent play caller? What would he be like with a decent rushing attack and a decent offensive line? So it's hard, I think, to really define what this young man is all about because there are no equal parts that surround him.
Rick, at this particular time when you're 1-5, if I'm the coaching staff, I'm doing an evaluation of the locker room because, you've got kids there that you recruited and you got kids that you brought in the transfer portal. And the kids that you recruited are a little bit more vested because they've always wanted to go there. Kids that come there from the transfer portal are trying to get exposure. So, I mean, if you're a coaching staff, you're paying attention to the dynamics of the locker room because, right now when you're losing, adversity shows its color.
Well, there's no doubt about that, but where I am with this program is I'd fire all these coaches. I would keep Mike Norvell. I would keep Patrick Surtain. I know he's really good buddies with Alex Atkins, but he's been terrible as an offensive line coach. He doesn't call plays. Again, it's completely, absolutely inexcusable that in an era of NIL, this man can get caught for cheating and lying. I mean, it's just absolutely, how can that happen in an NIL era?
You got to be bad at what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you're allowed to do whatever you want, and you got caught cheating, and you got caught lying. And whenever I hear that excuse, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Why would you even want that man, to be a part of your program? They got to fire Adam Fuller. It feels like every week we talk about special teams. Now, they did block some kicks. Mm-hmm. I'll give them some credit there. That was impressive. And, they've had a very good punter and a very good kicker. But if you're asking your assistants, your position coaches to evaluate which kids play hard, which kids are part of your program, I don't know how you can trust it. You're paying them, so sure, let them do their job. But, again, there's some great Seminoles there. Ron Dugans was phenomenal when he was, next to Peter Warwick, and they won a national title. Ron Dugans is a Tallahassee kid who went to FAMU High, and I love him, but he's terrible. He hasn't produced anyone, and Bell is not his. Johnny Wilson is not his. They came from Michigan State and Arizona State. Florida State doesn't produce wide receivers. Odell Higgins has been there for 27 years. I went to school with Odell Higgins. He has a criminology degree like I do. The game is passed by Odell Higgins. He's not getting anything out of these players. So you've got to you can't fire Mike Norvell. You're paying him $10 million a year, and he's got a $65 million buyout. You've got to fire the assistant coaches right now at Florida State. That's the only way that this thing is going to be able to take a turn again for the positive.
Yeah, the one positive, they were pitiful again on defense. They gave up a bunch of yards to Phil Maffa, but the only good thing is you stopped them in the red zone, 5 field goals from Clemson, and so you can at least draw on that a little bit. But you're right, Rick. One side letting the other side down has been a common theme all season long.
Yeah, it has. And, I think the biggest surprise for me is in the ditch. I thought this would be a really good football team, a very stout defensive line, and a very good offensive line. They looked the part when we watched them practice. Very spirited, old-school kind of board drill that they did the second day out there on the campus of the University of North Florida. And, it's just disappointed. And, you start hearing things like not wanting to be there, not playing hard, not being fully invested, not having the motor running, just awful words to describe your effort with a football team. And this happened immediately. This didn't happen after, a rough season. You're playing out the last couple of games. This happened in the first quarter against Georgia Tech. So it's just been sideways the entire year. And I almost never say this. I can't think of a time where I've ever said it. I always want them to make a bowl. I don't care what the team is. You get those extra 15 practices. You get that extra month, and, you can get to a bowl game. Florida State needs their season to end today. They don't need to play any more games. They don't need to be around each other anymore. They need to they literally need to bring back about
team. Is that what you're saying?
They need to bring back 2 coaches, Mike Norvell, Patrick Surtain, and they need to bring back about 20 players.
Yeah.
That's it. And just say goodbye to everyone else that is a part of the stench that has been the program of the 2024 Florida State Seminoles. It is the worst football team I have ever seen them have since I was a freshman there in 1987. And there is some talent. There is some draftable NFL players. But when you look at the will and the effort and everything else, it's just disgusting.
Worse than the Taggart years?
I can't say anything good about them.
Worse than the Taggart years?
The Taggart years, listen, Willie Taggart couldn't coach, but I still think that those players, there was some effort there. I thought the effort went sideways a little bit with guys like Marvin Wilson and Kane Doe and Janarius Robinson and Hazardine and players like that. I thought the effort went a little bit sideways there, but that was like the year that was like the Mike Mularkey team here, or the first year that Dave Caldwell and Gus Bradley got together. Just how incredibly non-talented those 2 Jaguar teams were. That's the way I look at the Willie Taggart years. They weren't a well-coached team. But I thought the effort for the most part was there. That's what's most disturbing about this year's team. It's the effort. It's not 110% every play.
Yeah, and it's creeped in more than one program, that's for sure.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here. Thanks so much for checking out 1010XL Seminoles page. If you're looking for more college football content, you can head over to the Gators page, or if you want some professional football content, check out our 1010XL Jaguars page.